Developmental reading is a course for struggling readers who have difficulty with reading comprehension, and it's intended to give some strategies, some skills in to help improve their reading comprehension. I usually begin a semester when I teach a developmental reading kind of a course. I usually begin the semester with a lesson that compares listening to reading. And what I wanted to help students to see is, why is there a problem? What's the disconnect for a reader when they can read a text multiple times, read a story, read a chapter, read a paragraph, and they can read it over and over again, and yet not be able to say 5 minutes later what they read. So they're not getting it to stick in their mind. And so I struggle at the beginning of a semester in a course like this with helping students to understand why. And that's why I make the comparison to listening and reading in hopes that this will catch their attention. So what's the comparison? I think it begins with the idea of what is needed in terms of our mental engagement. So think in listening. A person is able to speak at about 150 words per minute, and that means a listener is listening. But cognitively, you're able to think at 400 words a minute, 500 words a minute, which means that when you're listening to somebody talk with you, there's a lot of mental free space. And so people who work with improving our listening talk about something called active listening, right? In which you're in your mind, you're thinking as you're listening to someone, what is this person trying to say? And oftentimes someone will say in helping you to improve your listening abilities, reflect back to that person what you think they're saying. It builds communication, it builds your own listening ability, it improves the conversation. And so how is that idea of this mental space between the energy that we need to listen to someone talk at 150 words a minute and the mental space that we're capable of at 2 or 3 times that. And so in reading, I think there's that same mental space that exists. Um, the mind, again, is capable of working at a much higher rate of more words per minute, of taking in information than when we're reading it. And so, in some sense, reading printed text slows down our mind. And so, we are far more capable, there's more intellectual space available that is unused. And often, what a novice reader does is let the mind wander and or think about many other things, just like in the listening process. And so, as a teacher of reading, what I want to help my students do is, how do you fill up that space by actively getting them to participate in the thinking process of improving reading comprehension? How do we get students to engage that empty space so that they're active readers? And that's what the course attempts to do with students, is give them strategies. But I think they need to begin any course like this with understanding what the problem is. Developmental reading is but I think they need to begin any course like this with understanding what the problem is.